Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into another fascinating topic with us?
Absolutely. Always excited to explore new ideas.
Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of occupational health and safety.
Sounds important, but maybe not the most thrilling topic for everyone.
You're right, safety regulations aren't exactly known for being a page turner, but that's where this research paper we found comes in. It's all about making safety training way more engaging.
Okay, now you've got my attention. How do they make safety training exciting?
Think less dusty old manual and more like stepping into a virtual world.
Hold on, are we talking about gamification here?
Yeah,
Because that sounds right up my alley.
you got it. We're diving into the world of mobile gaming and how it can be used to make learning about workplace safety not just bearable, but actually fun.
I'm all for making learning fun. But before we get into all that, what's the deal with this research paper? Who did they study and why?
This particular research focused on workplace accidents, which unfortunately are a big deal. And they were specifically looking at data from Indonesia.
Indonesia. That feels a world away from what we usually discuss. So how does this relate to, say, someone listening in from the States?
That's a fair point. Even though the research was conducted in Indonesia, the lessons learned here have implications for everyone no matter where you're working. Because the bottom line is, whether you're in a factory, an office, or even just working from home, understanding safety is crucial.
Okay, makes sense. So how did they use a mobile game to teach about safety? Paint me a picture here.
All right, so imagine this. You download this app and suddenly you're transported into a virtual machining workshop.
A virtual workshop. So I'm not actually operating dangerous machinery, right?
Exactly. It's all simulated, but they've made it incredibly realistic. Think 3D graphics, all the equipment you'd find in a real workshop, lathes, drills, the whole nine yards.
Okay, that's pretty cool. But are you just observing this virtual workshop or is there more to it?
Oh, there's definitely more to it. You actually control an avatar within this virtual world. So let's say you're about to use a lathe. The game prompts you to put on the proper safety gear, just like you would in real life.
So it's like a flight simulator, but for a workshop. It lets you practice safety procedures in a risk-free environment. That's actually really clever.
And to add another layer of realism, they have interactive posters throughout the virtual workshop. So if you need a refresher on a specific safety procedure, you can just click on the poster for more information.
It's like having a virtual safety guide right there with you. That's a lot more engaging than just reading a manual cover to cover.
But did the researchers actually prove that this game works? I mean, did people actually learn and retain information better? Tell me they did some testing.
They did. They wanted to make sure this wasn't just a fun gimmick, but a genuinely effective learning tool. So they tested it with both students and lecturers.
And don't leave me hanging. What were the results?
Well, for starters, both the lecturers and the students thought the game was incredibly practical and easy to use, which is always a good sign.
That's promising. But what about actual learning? Did they see any improvement? They sure did. They used something called an N-gain score, which basically measures how much someone's understanding of a topic improves. And get this game led to a whopping 65.3% improvement in learning. We're not just talking about a small bump here, that's a significant leap.
Wow, 65.3%. That's incredible. It sounds like they really cracked the code on making safety training engaging and effective. But this was just for machining, right? What about other industries or even just other types of learning? Could this type of gamification work in other contexts?
You're definitely on the right track with that thought. That's the question, isn't it? It's easy to see how engaging a game can be, but what's the magic ingredient? Is it just novelty or is there something deeper going on here?
It's definitely more than just a shiny new toy. See, the researchers were strategic. They tapped into the psychology of learning, and one of the most powerful tools in that toolbox is gamification.
Gamification. Okay, I've heard that term thrown around a lot, but how does it actually work in practice? Break it down for me.
You know how games have those classic elements like earning points, leveling up, unlocking achievements, things like that?
Oh, absolutely. Those are like the hallmarks of any good game.
Yeah.
You're constantly chasing that next milestone.
Right. And it turns out those elements aren't just there to make games addictive, although they definitely do that. They actually tap into our brain's reward system.
Oh, interesting. So when we hit those milestones, our brain gives us a little dose of happiness.
Exactly. It's all about dopamine. When we achieve something, even something small like completing a level in a game, our brains release dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical, and it creates a positive feedback loop.
So we get that little hit of dopamine, and it makes us want to keep playing, keep learning, keep chasing that next reward.
Precisely. And this is where it gets really fascinating. The researchers found that by incorporating these game mechanics into safety training, they were able to tap into that same reward system. So now, instead of just passively reading about safety procedures, learners are actively engaged, making decisions, and getting rewarded for their progress.
It's like tricking your brain into enjoying something that might not normally be all that exciting.
In a way, yes, but it's more than just making it not boring. This active learning, driven by gamification, leads to better knowledge retention.
So it's not just about entertainment, it's about making the learning stick. People are more likely to remember information if they've actively engaged with it rather than just passively absorbed it.
Exactly. Think about it. Would you be more likely to remember something you read in a textbook or something you actually experienced and interacted with?
Oh, definitely the experience. I'm a hands-on learner for sure.
Most of us are. And this research highlights that. When you're actively involved in the learning process, making decisions, seeing the consequences of those decisions, even in a virtual environment, it just sticks with you better.
It's like the difference between reading about how to bake a cake and actually getting your hands dirty in the kitchen. You're going to learn a lot more by doing.
Exactly. It's about creating those aha moments, those moments where something clicks in your brain and you truly understand. Gamification is incredibly effective at facilitating those kinds of moments.
This is getting me excited about the possibilities. If we can make safety training this engaging, imagine what we could do with other types of learning. What if we can make learning about history or science as captivating as playing a video game?
Now you're thinking. And that's the real takeaway here. This research isn't just about occupational safety, it's about the future of learning. It's about using technology to make learning more engaging, accessible, and effective for everyone.
It feels like we're on the cusp of a learning revolution. But let's bring it back down to earth for a second. This all sounds amazing in theory, but how can to this actually apply these ideas to their own lives? We've talked about the research and the why, but now I'm curious, how can we take this idea of gamification and actually make it work in our own lives? It can't all be about virtual workshops, right?
Absolutely. This goes way beyond just workshops. Think about all those times you've had to sit through some boring training, whether it's for work, a new piece of software, or even just trying to learn a new skill. Gamification can revolutionize all of that.
Oh, I've definitely been there, stuck in those online training modules, trying to stay awake. It's like they try to suck all the fun out of learning.
I know, right? But imagine if instead of those dull modules, you had interactive games or simulations.
Yeah.
What if learning about, say, cybersecurity was as engaging as your favorite video game?
Sign me up for that. It would certainly make those mandatory training sessions a lot more bearable. But it's not just about making learning less painful, is it? There must be some real tangible benefits to this whole gamification thing.
Oh, absolutely. There's a ton of research out there that shows gamification can lead to some pretty amazing results. For one, it can significantly improve knowledge retention because you're not just passively reading or listening, you're actively engaged, so the information sticks with you longer.
That's huge. I know I've been guilty of forgetting something as soon as I've learned it, especially if it wasn't all that interesting to begin with.
It's a common problem. But gamification can also boost motivation and productivity. Think about it. When you're playing a game, you're driven by a desire to win, to achieve the next level. You're naturally more motivated to keep going, even when things get challenging.
It's like tapping into that competitive spirit we all have inside us. So it's not just a gimmick. There's real science backing this up.
Exactly. And the best part is it's not limited to just one specific area. We've talked about occupational safety, but this can be applied to pretty much anything: education, healthcare, development, you name it.
It really feels like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible with gamification. It's like opening up a whole new world of learning.
It is. If we can harness the power of gamification and apply it strategically, who knows what we could achieve?
That's a fantastic question, and one that I hope we all keep asking ourselves as we move forward. If learning felt more like playing a game, what amazing things could we accomplish?
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. A huge thank you to you for joining us and sharing your insights. This has been eye-opening.
It's been my pleasure. I always enjoy a good deep dive into the future of learning.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of occupational safety and the power of gamification. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration as much as we have. Until next time, keep those